Hello, Jamie from Inky&Scrappy, sharing with you today my Craft Roulette challenge number 206, Vintage Love. I pulled in some old vintage lace from Grandma Leona's collection. So I have a photo storage box, I think that's what they're called, full of little fabric scraps from her, like stuff that she had pulled apart and saved over the years. And there's a collection of lace in there as well. I could have gone downstairs and found my lace collection, but this one was handy and it was vintage. So it went with that color scheme this week on Craft Roulette. I also pulled in some stuff from my desk. You know, when I started these, I was trying to use up some of the stuff that I'd already half-baked. You know, my half-baked ideas that kind of got left in the dust and I forgot about. And so that was like my original intention of actually doing Craft Roulette. And so for my 24th submission, I decided I needed to start using some of those things that I promised myself I was going to use and get done with. So I had this panel cut out on my desk. It was a forgotten, I won't say forgotten, but it's been sitting there. I've been wanting to get to it. This was not my true intent with it. I was planning on making it into a shaker, but this worked well in the long run. So I did match it to the background that I had created. Last week, I think I was playing with Tim Holtz, both the heavy mixed media manila stock and then the white stock to see if it was, it's the white stuff does not work with my liquid spray stain style stuff. So that's the background I'm actually using today. That's going to go behind my heart. It's I mean, it's a pretty background, but it's not what I was looking for. My manila one turned out a lot better. A lot more fluid, liquid adhesive, or liquid media movement. Anyways, I'm going to cut that down to a little smaller than my 4" by 5 1/4 front here. Because it is lace, I was lucky enough when I cut my heart out that I had done some double-sided, I think it's called double-sided die-cut adhesive. I don't remember the name off brand. It is, you can pick it up at Joann online, or I think officesupply.com also has some craft stuff, and it's not too horrible for a big roll. I want to say it's probably 20-ish, $25. If you can get it at Joann's, you can usually use a 50% off on it. So that's usually what I do. But it works really well for those big images. But because I had that double-sided adhesive on the back, it worked really well with adding that lace panel on. And then, of course, doing score tape and glue for both of them, because obviously it's going to take a little bit more to adhere it. Eileen's tacky glue would probably work, anything that has a fabric glue to it. And then, of course, using some weights to weigh it down so it stays stuck. Because I used a liquid color medium on that back panel, so there's a little bit of warpage, and I wanted it to lay flat. So the best way to get things to lay flat is to put some heavy weights on them. Books that you don't read, just kidding. Books, blocks, tins that have stuff in it on your desk, those sorts of things. So I really just loved the card as is without putting an image on it. And then I was like, well, that's just me cheating, because I really had everything on my desk. I just had to do a little bit of ink blending on my top panel and add the lace in. And so, because I felt like I was, you know, taking the easy way out, I did decide that maybe I should bring out a set. I was going to bring in Lawn Fawns. I think it's Christmas Before and Afters where the little mice are kissing. But it was too bold of an image, I think, or like the outline was too, I thought it was going to be too distracting when I die cut it, and I would have had a fussy cut, and with those little mouse tails, it wasn't happening. So I knew that I had this little, I think it's Odd Couple set from MFT. I will list it down below if you're interested. It's an older set. I don't think it's available anymore. I'm really not sure. But so I knew that I had some, and I have already had a bunch stamped out on watercolor paper, because when I did them, I had done some Zig watercolor. And so I was like, well, I already have these stamped out, so why not use them? So I did bring in my new watercolor pencils from or the Distress watercolor pencils from Tim Holtz. I could easily match the colors that I had already used on the card this way, and I really need to start playing with them a little bit more anyways, so this was, you know, the start of that one. So I thought the little owls kind of went with that vintage feel and or theme. And so I'm just coloring in and then moving it around with a very fine tipped paintbrush. So I just have water off to the side. I really don't clean my brush overly well. I stuck with orange, obviously, for the beak and the feet, and then just some browns for the owls themselves. Some antique linen for the creamier color on them, and then I think gathered twig and vintage photo. I pulled in that gathered twig after the fact just because I felt it was a little lighter than I wanted. I wanted it to be a little bit darker, and it gives my owls a little bit of color variation. I need to watercolor more. It's so fast as opposed to my alcohol ink coloring. Anyways, so I do have the coordinating dies for those, so I'm going to line that up and then cut it out with my little sidekick here. I did decide that the little one needed a little cheek. Now this one I probably will use, I don't know, I might use it for Mother's Day. It could definitely be used as a wedding style card or anniversary style card, but I'm probably going to use it for Mother's Day because that vintage lace just, you know, and the simple sentiment of love really lends this one to multiple uses. And no, I did not finish the inside, so I will figure that one out when I get that far. Now, technically, there is a plant on my lace pattern, and I could have cheated and done that route, but I did decide that it would be fun to turn that little love, that gold love, into kind of like the branch, quote unquote, and by adding the little leaves to both ends, it kind of, I don't know, signifies that, I guess. I don't know. So I did pull in some of those coordinating colored pencils. You did not see it. I forgot to push record on the camera, so you missed it. But I just kind of messily colored on the scrap of Crystal Smooth cardstock and grabbed that little leaf die from, I want to say it's the apple border from Lawn Fawn, and then adhered those on to my card front here. And then, of course, because I just couldn't stop there, I did bring in some vanilla clay bit hearts from Trinity Stamps to finish it all the way off. So for my Craft Roulette project this week, I have an inside-out stitched heart front panel with that lace inlay for my, is it random? And then, of course, the plants are both the flowers that are in that lace pattern and the little leaves that attach to my love, which stands kind of for the branch. And then, of course, vintage colors with that rusty hinge, salvaged patina, and some of those vintage photo colors. So I hope you get to play Craft Roulette too and have an amazing rest of your day. Bye!